Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. This article comes to you guys from tech.yahoo.com. I'll leave a link to it in the description so you guys can check it out. So I've been speaking with several people over the last few days, including still today, this morning, and several of those people have voiced to me their opinion that Verizon's in a tough spot. Verizon is still the ones that everyone is really chasing after because they have the most postpaid customers in the wireless space. And right, they're still considered the biggest player in that space, right? So T-Mobile and AT&T are going after Verizon. And as you can see, Verizon is fighting back, right? So in this case, Verizon, once again, giving away free Nintendo Switch for switching internet plans, right? If you switch to their 5G home internet, you get a free Nintendo Switch. But here's what's interesting, right? Verizon is in a tough spot because they're getting hit from all angles, right? The competition is making moves, and it's just something that Verizon, in the past, they didn't have to defend the way that they have to now, right? And you guys know, right? I get market share updates, I get percentages, and those are not always like super accurate, but I know, give or take, what's happening in the market, right? I'm always up to date, and there's lots of areas where Verizon is losing share rapidly, right? And it's a little of everything, right? It's not just one particular carrier that's hitting Verizon, right? It's cable, it's MVNOs, it's the value segment. You guys understand that. So, right? So we had AT&T announce 55 and older plans are now nationwide, right? So they're now competing against T-Mobile. So now you have two competitors that are offering plans for the population that's 55 and older. Verizon does not, right? So that's another thing that Verizon will have to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate to see if they need to offer that, if they need to respond, right? That's one thing, right? Then T-Mobile today announces their T-Fiber plans across the Lumos footprint. So that's another footprint where T-Mobile is now competing for not only broadband share, but also additional wireless share, as I mentioned in the T-Mobile video, because now they can offer convergence. They can very comfortably give you a better deal if you join them with a voice line across the homes that are passed with Lumos, right? It's 500,000 right now. And then once they close the Metronet deal, that'll go up. And then over the next few years, by 2030, they want to get to between 12 to 15 million or more homes passed, where they can actively compete for that business. That's what T-Mobile wants to get to. So it's not the same market as it was 10 or 15 years ago, where Verizon was just dominating. They just had too much firepower, too much market dominance, and nobody could do anything about it. I've told you guys this, and I've talked to people way back when, like 2011, 2012, when I was still working with the reps of the individual carriers, that you had to be on Verizon. There was really never another network that had similar type of performance. Nobody was close. AT&T couldn't pull it off with the HSPA. T-Mobile really couldn't do anything with their HSPA. They were still building out. They didn't have the size and scale. Sprint was still largely 3G. There just was not another network that could stand up to Verizon. Not even close. Not even within 5%. It just was not possible back then. It just wasn't. But now, totally different ballgame. You got scaled networks. You got players that have buying power, right? Like T-Mobile is wholesaling fiber now, so they can still converge. So either way, it works for T-Mobile, right? They don't own 100% of that fiber, right? So they only get a split of the however that deal is broken down, however much money T-Mobile receives from the fiber play, but they get all of the revenue from the customer that they converge on the wireless side, right? So they get that plus what they get from the fiber. So T-Mobile is strengthening their portfolio, their financial portfolio. They're strengthening. AT&T is competing, right? They have tons of capacity. They're not really doing FWA to the same type of scale. So they can offer plans that are cheaper. They can do 55 and over, right? They can do that comfortably, no issues, because they have a ton of capacity that needs monetizing. So it puts Verizon in a very tough spot. It puts them in a position where they have to do like what you see here, give away a free Nintendo Switch if you join the home broadband, right? And some right away are going to say, oh, does that mean that growth is in trouble? It's slowing down. I mean, you could make that argument, but this is just, in my view, it's just simply competing. They're just having to compete. So is Verizon really in a tough spot? I mean, it remains to be seen, right? We saw they lost a lot of customers in the first quarter. We'll continue to monitor that throughout the rest of this year, but it's not as easy as it once was for Verizon. And I feel to jumpstart anything that they may want to do, right? If they may want to grow at bigger volumes, if they want to stop the bleeding once and for all, they're going to have to change everything, right? It can't just be, oh, we're just going to throw this money into the acquisition costs and see if it sticks, right? They're going to have to change everything, right? They're going to have to change the way that they do business with the cable MVNOs, in my opinion. They're going to have to look at all the brands, right? They might have to, like, I've been preaching the consolidation for a long time now between Visible and Track Phone and all the brands that they have now, because it's just too much swapping back and forth. They can say it all they want publicly, but there's too many brands that are all on the Verizon network, and it's just pointless, in my opinion, right? If you have Visible, you're digital, and then you got Total Wireless, that's fine. Everything else that's out there, it just needs to be consolidated into Total Wireless. Because with Total Wireless, you have everything. You have value, you got the retail, right? And you got a brand, and you got to go to market. With everything else, straight talk, and it's just, yeah, you're serving a different part of the value segment, but it's all still value. So it makes no difference. But Verizon has to figure it out, right? They keep saying they have momentum, and we'll see, right? They probably will have some momentum. They got the Frontier deal. That's been approved by the FCC, so we'll wait for that to integrate and everything else. But they probably will have momentum. They'll do convergence, right? They'll do that at bigger scale with Frontier. That'll be great for them. Probably will lower their churn as well. But the competition is coming, and the competition is making smart moves, making smart decisions. AT&T now too, right? The media thing, that's all in the past. So AT&T is making smarter decisions, better decisions, right? With the way they're scaling fiber, they're more disciplined, buying more spectrum when they have the opportunity. And so now it's not as easy as it once was. You can't overlook the next competitor. You have to stay on your toes. You have to make sure that you make the right decisions. You can't just make, any kind of move anymore, right? It has to be calculated. It has to be thoughtful. It has to be disciplined, right? You can't just say, okay, let's try this and see if this works. No, you have to make sure, okay, if I implement this, it has to be effective. It has to work, because my competition will take advantage if it doesn't work, right? So you have to look at it that way. And that's how competitive I feel it's now getting for the three mobile network operators. But let me know your thoughts. If you think Verizon's in a tough spot, let us know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.